Abstract Transmissions.
Thank you for listening to Abstract Transmissions, folks. We've got an interesting, very interesting, I think, conversation today with some guests that you very well may know if you've been listening for a while. We've got JGrind, Jeremy Bragg from the Slow Death of Gaia, and formerly we played together in Unrest and Transit, and the Idiot Flesh. He plays drums in both of them, and he is my good friend and knowledgeable expert in this discussion, as well as RWilson, RWilson Photography, and De La Cumin, and Flood This Earth. That's a lot for me to remember in my ADHD brain. I did it without looking at anything, though, right?
Yeah, you do well.
That's how you introduce guests. Guys, thank you for coming on. Today, we are talking about the fun. I mean, usually we're not focused on one specific topic, and I'm sure we'll bounce around, right? But UAPs or FOs or whatever the fuck you want to call it has been in a big thing, obviously, right now. And that's why you guys are here. That's why we're talking about it. I was talking to you guys before. I have been trying to dig in, research for potential guests, and I am just kind of fucking jarred loose because I got nobody to talk to about this stuff, really, right? I'm not going to talk to Gavin about it really too much because I don't want to scare the shit out of him. Like, because, yeah, I don't know. He brought up the Skinwalker Ranch thing to me, and I disregard it. I'm like, I just disregard all that stuff. And then, oh, man, I feel like I'm starting to sound crazy.
And then you were sleeping with your head under the sheets for a couple days after?
Dude, for fucking real. Like,
seriously, it's messed up.
It is messed up. Like, and for the people out there, like, before we go right off the assumption of tinfoil hats and all that, for the listeners who haven't listened before, or anybody who's, you know, deep into it, this is coming from a position, if you haven't been paying attention to the news, type in UFO CNN anywhere, and you're gonna start yourself down a interesting little rabbit hole if you care. I think a lot of people are just like blocking it out.
Yeah, that or it just it doesn't get the exposure. That's what I think, or that's what I've seen. More people, you know, with COVID and everything, more people seem to be more apt and openly discussing or sharing things of just that will make them happy throughout the day, or if it's COVID related, or if it just gets filtered. I read out, like you mentioned before, about making a post involving it, and I barely see your guys' posts. I'm interactive with Brandy's photo page a lot, and even then, sometimes I'll see him share it, and then I have to go to his page to see it. So it's just all filtered, and yeah, you never really know.
Very valid point. I noticed that too. I've had some pretty successful tweets, even though I don't tweet. I haven't tweeted. I'm not a Twitter person, and I've had a couple of successful ones. But the one that got nothing, big fat goose egg, not even one. It was one that I tagged 4 people in. You'd think somebody would get some sort of visibility to that.
Yeah.
And it was the one I said, you know, because it seems like the biggest conjecture is between like the Neil deGrasse Tyson side of the argument and the Luis Elizondo side of the argument. It's not a matter of whether it's here or not. It's here. We have the proof. Like, the proof is not physical evidence, but we have radar proof. And there's no way that all of these different radar systems are going to fail and glitched, or they could be glitched by whatever the anomaly is. You can call it an anomaly. But yeah, it's a little irresponsible. I think irresponsible. Dare I say fucking irresponsible to an astrophysicist, but I think irresponsible for them to go around creating it like it's a, you know, flights of fancy scenario when we obviously have something here. I'm not saying that they're discounting it, but they're making it out like, well, when we know it's not glitched radar, it's like we have the governments, the world, all of the world's governments standing behind the fact that this has happened way too many times for that.
Oh, yeah, it was geez, I don't even remember. I think it was like 2000. maybe even 2016 or 2017, but like fucking Tom DeLonge from Blink-182
Yes.
was all about it.
He
Came right
started
out.
this
Everyone
whole
told
thing.
him he told me he was. Everyone told him he was crazy. I remember seeing memes and all the videos on him on Joe Rogan, and he said it even in that interview podcast. He was like, "Look, 3-4 years down the line, they're going to tell you this is it. They're going to tell you everything I'm saying is true, and that this exists and these videos aren't fake." And when everything got like sifted out, when the Navy was like, "Yeah, this is a thing," that's the first person I thought of. I was like,
Tom DeLonge.
dude, this
Yeah.
this guy literally said this was gonna
He gave
happen,
up his fucking
and
career for it.
Yeah,
yeah,
he got roasted endlessly for that. It ruined him.
Mm-hmm. But did it really? I mean, it did. But look at it. He said this is bigger than anything I could ever do. I have to do this.
right.
And he's doing just that. Like he had the foundation to do it. And you do. The actors always talk about responsibility. And yeah, I do think there's a certain amount of responsibility if you have a platform to get a message out. If you can do it, and he
Well,
did that.
definitely. It wasn't really a message that was very popular with a lot of
Right.
people,
Well,
unfortunately.
look at he was talking about 11 different alien races. He didn't go, he didn't go Republican key messaging here, right? He didn't go, we've got these 5 things. We all stick to the same thing. Nobody says anything else crazy other than maybe everything. But we're all on the same crazy message. So we're all on the same key here, and the whole thing is like, we stay on key, we stay on point. Everybody's got the same thing, but there's none of that. And it's not simplified, right? If you overcomplicate something, it scares them. That's the first thing of sales is like, if I start talking about all these features of Samsung, nobody's going to buy that product because it seems too complicated.
Yeah.
Simplify it does this, and this. Aliens are potentially real. We don't know. UFOs definitely are. The government has lied to you. Now they're admitting it. Follow that wherever you go. That's where he should have went. But instead, Tom DeLonge went, 11 different alien races. Skinwalker Ranch is real. Bigfoot, even connected. And although
He
I'm
even goes on
finding,
tours. That made me laugh. He pays a bunch of money to go on tours to hunt Bigfoot back then. I don't know if he still does it anymore. I
no,
kind of just stopped following it
yeah,
after that. But yeah, and it's crazy because he even. I remember watching the podcast, and he even stopped himself in mid conversation because he was going into the details on how he made the relationship with the government and how it was like a suit picked him up and he was getting into like he was put into a room with no windows, and then that's when he stopped talking. He was like, I'll just tell you more about this later.
yep.
And back in for however many years ago now, I don't even
He
remember
looked
what day of
nuts.
week it is. Yeah, everyone looked crazy. He's like, yeah, okay, this guy's watched too many movies,
And that guy was Luis Elizondo.
Yeah.
That it turned, and that's what's crazy is like their connection together, and they formed the Stars Academy together with these other guys, heads of Boeing Aerospace. Geez, what there's like 3 other Bigelow Aerospace.
Yeah, he's in another technology
Skunk
company as
Works.
well. Yeah.
Skunk Works is another one.
He
The
probably
guys who made the SR-71A Blackbird, I think.
he probably
I don't know why I
stopped
have that.
himself because that's generally when people tend to disappear. They've made people have disappeared for talking about that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's no joke, and that's been proven.
Right.
One guy was framed. They put a bunch of weirdo shit on his computer, and he's in jail now.
Right.
Um,
So what the fuck? Now that all this shit's coming through, where's that guy? Like that guy needs to be released. Like all this shit needs to change, and it's
right?
not gonna because everything moves at a snail goddamn pace, and it will take literally. It's just like a fucking alcoholic or a drug addict. It takes for somebody to fucking die.
Yeah.
Something serious to fucking happen for them to get their fucking shit together and really realize it. Like,
Yeah.
and I know the implications of all this shit is huge, but it's like, you can't this isn't just fucking, this is the entire continuity of the human civilization possibly here. We could be
It's
wiped right off the fucking planet, maybe.
yeah. It would literally rewrite history.
Absolutely.
I mean, it already has, really, and that's the
Yeah.
interesting thing is like Mark, you had said The government lying and the military lying. And the funny thing is, when they made their announcement, they didn't say that they lied. They were just like, oh, by the way,
We don't
Yeah.
know what these are.
We don't know what
right?
they are,
They're here. But they didn't come out and say, hey, we told you, don't even
Right.
Independence Day is fake, alien.
Right.
Don't worry about that. Don't. Then they didn't
Well,
come out and say that because they
but
won't. You know.
that's my point though. That's what's scary is that like they indirectly called themselves liars without knowing that they called themselves liars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when they start releasing stuff and they start the lines start crossing and things start connecting, that's when they start looking like liars and they know it. But it's like, oh, look over here. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. Look, so but that's the other thing too. What's the angle? They don't give up information freely. I've said this
No.
before. I sound like a broken record probably. What's the angle?
And I don't really know why I expected more out of that report than what we got, because obviously that's what it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot
I
more
don't
in there
really
than
know what I
people
expected.
realize, though. A lot more in there than people realize.
Yeah.
There's literally a descriptor about and this is, folks, check it out, look it up. You can look this up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm gonna really be careful. I keep on doing that. But a fucking, and he says this on the podcast I was just talking to you about, Luis Elizondo, Theories of Everything with Kurt, I think. Anyway, that's the name of the podcast. People check it out. I'll probably forget the link. He goes to say that you can look this up. Oh no, it was the one with Jeremy Corbell, same podcast. There is over 150 sightings of these things, and one specific one, not one, but there's multiple like this, but one specific one that they've released to the public, in which one of these things, these UAPs, comes in to a missile silo and directs a focused beam of light. They said light, not laser. A focused beam of light into the missile silo, not just dismantling or stopping or malfunctioning, but physically destroying the box or whatever, the access, so it could leave, and it just destroyed it. And the whole thing would have to be replaced, like a hole through it.
I remember.
And that's verified now.
I remember seeing something about that. Yeah. Well, what about the
Okay,
video?
Neil deGrasse Tyson, that's your fucking evidence right there. Go take a look at that thing, find out what burned it.
What about the video they got of the thing flying over the ocean, just plunging straight down?
Yeah. Well, that's Neil deGrasse Tyson's whole perspective on that is, well, maybe their radar's wrong.
Now, you know what I think? I think they're deep in the ocean, the places where they say we can't go, but they probably
Mariana Trench.
really don't have the technology to go down there.
Yeah.
But they know that we shouldn't go down there, or there's some kind of deal, or not to get total conspiracy theory on you, but how much of the ocean have we seen?
Right. No, you're right. I mean, we have
If you
not
got a ship
explored
that
the
can
ocean
fly
hardly
from-
at all.
Yeah, if you have a ship that can fly from wherever to here and do the things that our stuff can't do, you can certainly stand, the pressures of the ocean.
Oh yeah, they said that it's transmedium vehicles. I heard Luis Elizondo say this on fucking Good Morning America. This is what is fucking making me fucking crazy and why I'm having this conversation. I'm fucking tearing up right now because the whole goddamn human race is asleep at the fucking wheel. This is insane. Good Morning America, and people are just like glossed over, like, all right, I'm gonna go do my Starbucks job. We should all be fucking all those people that marched on Congress with. The whole fucking country should march on Congress demanding that they do something. Not fucking everything that's happened has been awful these last 2 years. Everything from fucking COVID to fucking George Floyd to fucking riots to everything has been fucking awful. But if there's one thing that is the only thing that's bigger than everything there, it's our place in the universe next to a fucking other species. And I think this is the point where it's like, people really need to be waking up. Like, we need to realize that if this is the case, we don't know what these things are. We don't know that they're aliens, but we know that there's nothing on our planet that could do this.
Yeah. Exactly.
That means it's alien. That's not of this planet.
Yeah.
It's extraterrestrial in nature. Full stop. I'm not science to know that. If it's not from here and we didn't make it, someone else did. Not here. Which is the definition of alien, is it not?
Right. I was just going to say that's the official term,
Textbook, yeah.
a foreign entity. You know what I mean? It's not from this planet, therefore it is alien. Obviously you say alien, everybody thinks like the Greys, so they all, and ironically, more people that I've spoken to, they reference like South Park and just really weird things that I was like, oh, that's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think alien. Like it's really odd. And I think it also has a lot to do with how people are subjected to what they find important. Because this could be all over the news, but the fact that they're like, oh, okay, so aliens are real, but they are more concerned of how am I going to get my Starbucks today?
Right.
How am I going to go to Roma Joe's? How am I going to pay for gas?
Right. And
I got to go
Brent,
out,
yeah, I mean,
right.
it's
They worry
valid.
about everything they see. Right. And it's a narrative, really. It's pushed. It's not seen as a threat. And that's why, like you had mentioned, they would have said laser beam. You would have had, I think, they would have been a very different reaction.
Yeah.
An unidentified ship appears, fires a laser into a silo, but fires a beam of light. And you're just like, I can make a beam of light with my magnifying glass.
Right.
It's just like the cognitive
If it
response.
quacks like a duck and fucking,
Right.
I'm just like, I can't. I mean, yeah, I guess I can believe it. Donald Trump was fucking president for 4 goddamn years. So there's
Yeah.
really like, there's 2 things in my head. Either this is like maybe 3 if you consider. I mean, there's really only 3 possibilities, right? It's either aliens or extraterrestrial beings, multiple ones, however many, us from the future, or it is a simulation.
I started reading into the future stuff a lot, actually. There were some pretty decent arguments for that, as much more sci-fi as that sounds.
Yeah.
That it's like us from the future.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I buy it. I
I've
can
read it, and makes
I can
sense.
get on board with it somewhat.
Same as simulation theory, though. They all seem like a pretty plausible possibility, which is a motherfucker,
Simulation
right? That's
theory.
a 30% chance of anything.
Yeah, the simulation theory is probably the most far out one, but again, I'd buy it.
Which is funny because mathematics says the otherwise. Mathematics says it's an almost incredibly low probability that this is base reality.
Well, I kind of got myself spiraling one day. I'm like, I only know this is blue because somebody told me it's blue because somebody else before them told them it was blue. I know I'm 43 because I'm told I'm 43, but what if that's not the real? I don't know. I got spiraling about that.
Oh,
I have a
no.
lot of control about a lot of stuff like that. Sometimes you think and you research it and you
Let's stay
drive
on
yourself.
that. Let's stay on that. That
Yeah.
good time slippage.
Yeah. I accidentally unloaded that on my daughter. And in regards to like concept of time, and I just made a comment of like, well, time's man-made.
In 2021, right?
Yeah.
Right. She's like, well, what do you mean time is made? And I was like, well, how do you tell time? She's like, oh, through a clock. And I was like, well, how do you know that? It's because you're told that, right? She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, let's do like mathematics. I was like, you have 4 oranges, you take 2 away, you now have 2 oranges left because that's how we're taught. But let's remove math entirely. Let's put oranges in a basket. Now you have 4 oranges in the basket. You take 2 out. What do you have? You have 2 oranges in your hand and you have 2 in the basket. You still have oranges. The whole math concept, I understand like addition and subtraction. Same thing with like Randy mentioned age. It's fabricated and man-made as a tracking system in order to tie our minds to things that are real.
Right. To try to
So,
make sense of linear time.
Yep.
Right. And it doesn't matter. We could be born and not track our age. It would be, we're born, we live, we die.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's it. It doesn't, the Neanderthals didn't give a shit if how old they were. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy.
By seasons, it used to be like, oh well, this is the baby's 3rd winter, and this is, you know what I mean?
Right. No, absolutely.
Before it was more honed in, and they ruined everything.
Sundials.
You were talking about, well, the whole time measurement thing is always been variable, I think, and that's the thing that people really, really. I mean, they get into this in the Dark Tower series some, which
Oh
I
yeah,
liked, is
yeah.
the whole time is funny, right? Time is time moves differently here, or is, or the world has moved on, and because of it, the time operates slow and then fast and then jumps ahead, and then it's just like transmission that's fucked. you know Six
Yeah.
kinds of fucked, but it's still moving somehow.
It was not to interrupt, but
Yeah.
it's just because, like, again, ADHD, I just gotta get the thought out, otherwise I'll like lose track of it. But that's where I have an interesting concept of time versus science, because so many the Earth rotates so many times. It's day, it's night, and then that's how we calculate days. But so, like, gravity exists because the physics, the scientific theory of gravity was created. It was given a name, but there's science to prove that there's a force that keeps things on this planet, as opposed to just because the Earth rotates and then it's nighttime and then it's daytime. That's a physical thing that occurs. We just gave it a name.
Yeah.
And so, in that regard, it's just interesting because I personally would believe more in science. Like, human biology, we're created, we decay. So the concept of time, it's like, okay, well, probability on an average of today in 2021, when someone's born, their average lifespan is, let's just say, 78 years. But in reality, it may take that long for your body to decay, because in science, that's what happens. So we're only put a time frame on it for understanding. But you
Is
take
it
away that time frame, and that there's nothing. It's just
right?
you are here until you're not. And so I just think it's quite interesting in that matter, because, like, I don't tie time with science in particularly. That's just me personally, though.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm definitely with you on that one. Time, it's a part of science. It's a part of experimentation. It's part of everything, but it's not. Science kind of took the fear out of everything because it gave an explanation. But time is time. Time's always there.
Right. Well,
And
is it though? Like, what we measure it, we think it is, but like,
well,
uh,
it is. I saw something.
we're
I,
decaying.
I read or I watched a video, and they talked about how we turn on our axis so much every year. It's minuscule, but it was like something like 100 years from now, the days will be like a day, an hour long. Not even an hour longer. Like,
Yes. Yes.
uh,
No. 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 I didn't mean to interrupt you.
oh no,
Yes.
you're fine. That's about all I had on that. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's again, it's quite the rabbit hole to go down. That's what I do when I can't sleep. I usually pull up weird YouTube videos
Mm-hmm.
and basically freak myself out so that I don't sleep.
Holy shit. So I had to write a couple of things down between both of you guys there, because I same thing as Jeremy. I'd lose it, and I never write things down. But this is a good conversation. This is gonna be a real good one. Um, I just had a conversation a couple months back with the author of a book. Actually, it's a science fiction. It's like a mixture between like theology, science fiction. Really amazing book. If you get a chance to read it, same folks out there. I will always do the volunteerism ad for KK Eden's masterpiece called "The Measurement of Decay." Ladies and gentlemen, go out to your local bookstore if you can, buy it. Get all three versions. Get the book to keep on the shelf. Get the electric version in your tablet, or whatever you're using, and then the audiobook if you want to immersion read along.
That's,
Um,
that's a damn fine band name too.
it is a really. I honestly, there's a part of me that really wanted to utilize that, but then I was just like, I was trying to keep, you know. It's funny you said that, because I really was thinking that I fell in love with this book and this author. He's amazing. He came on the show and we were talking about this very conversation about time slippage, or how measurements of decay, measurements of time, are measurements of entropy. We're basically just measuring the heat death of the universe. We're trying to measure the end of things for the most part. We're only measuring ourselves, like you're talking about, like we're breaking down and we're measuring that, and like how long does
Right.
that take, how long does an apple take, and all of these things are relative to our experiences, to how we interact with them. I mean, that's proof. Quantum physics proves that if we interact with an experiment or whatever, we change it no matter what. If just by measuring it, I guess was the
It's direct interference obscures the course that it's on, which
right,
again goes to science and physics.
right. So
You
what
know,
does it? And
something is
back and forth.
going, you collide with it. You know,
Right.
you hit something and it will continue until stopped.
Well, and it's funny
Oh,
you're talking
sorry.
about having to have this conversation with your daughter. It's like raising kids in 2021, man. Fuck it. It really is. It's a second longer would be the thing I would say. If you wanted to give her a perspective, this is what I would say to like Gavin. If I was thinking when you're saying it, I had to write it down. Ask her what she thinks time would be like if a second was just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she
And that's the whole
she was right with me. Same thing. Like she was right there. She understood because I thought I was like, oh, I'm just gonna shut up. She goes, no. She's like, I understand what you're saying. She's like, it's kind of like how come we can't have 1 month for 365 days?
it's impossible, right? There's no
The
linear
only reason
pattern.
why
You
we
can't
have
get it.
right there's no we just use it to keep track holidays, to
Yeah.
keep track of events, the catalog time, the catalog or like days of progression, birthdays, you know, stuff like that. And she even like she would like that, and she goes, oh well, if we wanted we could have 8 days a week. Who's to say? We could have
That's
14 days,
right.
we could have 100 days a week if we wanted.
If we
Who
wanted to
says
change it
just
up.
because we have to measure a day by day and night?
Well, it's
You
all
measure a
because
day by an hour
we're
if you wanted.
diurnal
Right.
creatures. Yeah, diurnal, I think is the right word. Gavin knew that at a really young age, and I had no idea what the hell it was. I'm like, what diurnal? So it was from some show I think you watched. Diurnal creatures. So we need that what's that rhythm? I don't know what's called the
Circadian rhythm.
circadian. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need that to keep going and keep so we measure time based on that, of course, but it's not linear because we're measuring revolutions around the sun because
Yeah.
that's how it starts. So like all of that just didn't work initially, but the fact is you can't really just measure time, I think, because it slips and people don't even realize
Yeah.
that it's why we can't measure. It's why relativity is such a bitch and why it took Einstein forever to kind of figure out where he got it and still didn't get past that. And it took for people like Stephen Hawking to come along to really put a dent in that and make it reinforced by quantum theory and things that would have just probably, I don't know. I wonder what Einstein would have thought about quantum physics. But anyway, the one thing that I had also written down was is relativity. This is the stupidest thing here in the world, I'm gonna say, but it always was a great analogy for me. It's the fucking worst movie in the world, and I don't like fucking LL Cool J in any way as an actor, but he was in what was it? The fucking shark movie,
Deep Blue Sea,
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I
Deep
think it's
Blue.
called
My head is like a shark
deep
fin.
deep
That was
sea
the
or
name
deep
of the
blue
song.
sea or
Deep Blue
That
Sea,
was
that's
the
the one.
song.
yeah, he was the
Oh,
chef or something.
yeah.
I think he was the chef, and he
Yes.
just like, come on, let's go. He's
That's
like,
right.
he
That
just tries to be
analogy
so
when he
like,
says you put your hand on a hot woman and a moment seems like an hour seems like forever seems like a second. But if you put your hand on a hot pan, a second seems like an hour. Whatever the analogy was, is that relativity is what dictates time. Really,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it didn't feel like much time because it wasn't.
Think about when you're a little kid. The
Yeah.
summer goes by, 3 months, the summer goes by just like that. The school year drags.
Gavin, that's how it was funny. I was talking to Jeremy right now about his kid raising kids in 2021. That is exactly the conversation Gavin and I had to have about school, like you were just talking about, like summer, but even more than that, what was I gonna say? Freaking video games and stuff like that. All the time I'm like, yeah, dude, that was an hour. You were on there for an hour. You're done. You need to take a break. There's no way that was an hour. I'm like, look at your dude, look at your phone. Man, I can't, I don't control time. I'm not
Dude, we're all musicians. How many times have we gone on stage to set up, and it felt like setting up and breaking down took longer than the actual 35-minute set we played.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so crazy. It's like we're already on the last song. What the hell? I
Especially
felt
those
like I
big
literally
shows
just
that you
sat
look
down.
up. Right.
On a good night, and then on a bad night, halfway through the first song, you're like, oh fuck, come on.
Is it over yet?
Yeah. No,
Let's
absolutely.
just play half the set. Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck that. We said 35. We're gonna do 25. We'll just
Maybe 18.
a little bit of banter.
Just
in
do some
between.
talking.
This little ditty's
Some
called
stage
feedback.
presence joke. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say the stage presence joke. Damn it,
Yeah.
you took it right out of. You just sucked it right out of my brain. That's my favorite joke of all
I
time.
wrapped them and forgot them at home. Oh man, it's such a selfish joke too, because it's totally for me every time. Like I know it's either gonna go good or it's not, and either way, I don't give a fuck.
I fucking lose it. Even if I'm behind the kid or in the crowd, I just lose it every time.
Yeah.
I love
it's
that
good.
joke.
I appreciate it more because other people appreciate. Even if it's just a group of us, you know. It's very.
I find
it's very moment.
amusement in everything. It's kind of my go-to to. I have what my mom calls Chandlerism from like Friends on how his self-defense mechanism when uncomfortable is to make a joke or do something funny.
Yep.
And I've been doing that my mom since it's like 5. You know, and I was like when someone had found out their animal passed away, and I just make a fart noise at like 5 years old. Everyone's like, "What the hell?" And I was just like,
right.
And I just do it naturally, just try to find amusement. Now I just kind of hone it, and then, or I do the awkward turtle in the middle of conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like I'm navigating this socially. I didn't say I was going to do it right. I'm navigating,
right.
But that's all I'm promising. I'm going to navigate.
Speaking of navigating in time, and aliens and extraterrestrials, just because again, brain need to get it out. I was like, I'll as well wonder because of these objects being able to move at obscene speeds and hover and
speeds,
like
right? I mean,
no right, like light or whatever's faster than light, because like we only calculate speed of light because we can existence, right? And then in that case, if like and it's just like how I often like same thing with like Randy. I have insomnia, so I sit there and I'm just like, if aliens are in my mind, I'm thinking like, how the hell do they just calculate? How do they keep track of that stuff? Like how could you imagine us running? If you get up and you run to your next room, it may take you like 12 steps. It may take you 8 seconds, but maybe 8 seconds for them is like the other side of the galaxy.
Dude,
because of the amounts of speed that they can travel at.
Yeah, I was spiraling on that thought of mine, frame of mind the other day. It's like, because everything that we know is what we calculate, but if there are beings more intelligent than us, which of course there are somewhere, then we're wrong.
Yeah, time doesn't exist for them the same way it exists
our
for us,
math is wrong,
at all.
or everything is wrong. Because
well, I don't think it's wrong. I just think it's about as knowledgeable as it's like the Galileo thing, right? Like they're part right, but they weren't right. Like Galileo was right. Like
not wrong, but backwoods.
Limited.
What I was saying is like, the people back then weren't wrong. They were wrong. Like they were wrong about Galileo. Galileo was right. We weren't the center of the universe, and they were able to prove it. And ultimately, I mean, that was the fact. But they were right in the aspect that we existed in space, and that there were, balls in space, and there's some things that they got. And I think that's kind of where we're at, right? There's some things that we got.
Yeah.
Physics, the cat in the box is either dead or alive until you check on it, and then it collapses in on the main function, basically giving way to A or B. But until you open that box, it's both dead and alive. Those things we have just an infantile understanding of. And I think that like as time goes on, we're just going to become more and more intellectually, hopelessly, hilariously outgunned, as Samuel L. Jackson would say in Avengers movie, hopelessly and hilariously outgunned. Like that's probably the best example of like if we were if it's true and Trump really is going to try, it was really trying to, in his mind, you know, secure us in space. The fuck out of here. Really? Really?
I was like, that was the only thing I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like Space
All
Force,
about it.
I was like,
Look, I
dude,
love Space Force.
yeah,
Love the
yeah. I
idea,
was like,
right?
I just want
It's
to see,
everything.
I just want to see it.
It's everything our
Right.
childhoods like fucking thought about. Like, what's next? Mecha Warriors? Like, all right, bring it the fuck on.
I'm all for
I'm
that
about
too.
it.
Right?
What I'm not about is our entire species being wiped off the face of the planet because we got uppity about what we thought was going to be the next oil and terrorists.
Well,
You know,
that's
the
what
new
worries me.
scary, the new oil, which is
Yeah,
crystallic fuses. Who fucking knows?
that's kind of what worries me is us, because I mean,
Hubris.
mankind's a virus.
Yeah.
We're
Well, maybe. I mean, we may not be such a bad virus if we're comparing ourselves to these Skinwalker guys. If they're like the 11th on the. Sorry,
but-
It all
Matt.
depends.
but we're a speck. Like, so we think something is threatening and we take a shot at it and they laugh, push a button, and
We
you
just
know
like
the
Thanos
earth
snap
is
us.
or everybody's enslaved, or
We already are, right? I mean, maybe that's what
yeah,
they're saying. Like we could
yeah.
be, they could be a zoo that, sorry, I keep.
That's a pretty good theory too. I don't really discount a whole lot of those, honestly. The theory that man came from somewhere other than Earth, because if you look at some of the evidence, we're not suited to this climate at all. Anywhere on this Earth, it's either too hot or too cold, or you know what I mean.
Right,
There's
even
no
if you
climate.
start to go into the evolution of the origin of humanity being the cradle of humanity, where everybody's fighting over basically,
Yeah.
being where we came from. Well, that's also kind of close to the pyramids and where people claim to seen aliens too, right? Where the same area of the world. Well, what a coincidence. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
starting to
There's
really start drinking the Kool-Aid with the UFO stuff here at this point. I've just given in. I'm just like, fuck it. I've been skeptic for so goddamn long in my entire life. I'm just going for it.
I wouldn't even say skeptic. Well, I guess skeptic would be the definition term, but I consider it
it's
like
Occam's
critical
razor on the other
thinking,
side, right?
right?
Which is the
Yeah.
most
I mean,
logical thing, right? It's not fucking that they're not aliens. That's for fucking sure. All things being equal, the simplest explanation tends to be the right one.
Yep.
The simplest
right.
explanation at this point is UFOs, and everybody's saying it. It's the first one that's on there. Maybe not in Mr. Tyson's, Dr. Tyson, I should say, Professor Tyson, rather.
And that could go like so many different ways, because you think a man of that intelligence and understanding universe, there's no way you can't pitch exploring the universe and exploring science and their theories and this without also considering this being a possibility.
Right.
And that's what's weird to me.
I don't think I'm
You
being
know what I
fair
mean?
to him. I guess I've been going kind of hard against one of my favorite people ever, by the way. Let me just put that on the record. I think he's fucking amazing. He's done more for the
Oh yeah.
the scientific community, education wise, than the educational. Yeah.
You know what I think it is, though. I think it's because there are a lot of people that would freak. It would do for a lot of people. They spiral into chaos, and I honestly think
Republicans.
I think what he's doing is damage control, kind of. Like maybe downplay it a little bit, and
Yeah,
Being the shepherd.
Let's not jump to aliens, and that's exactly what he's saying. Let's not just jump to aliens, guys.
Yeah.
But at the same time, homie, for real?
Yeah.
It's aliens. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like that
And,
guy.
and I would say, right,
How?
and it like my first thoughts for some reason, okay, so like it kind of goes off of what
feel
both of you
crazy.
guys like
I feel
you had
crazy,
said.
yeah.
That like even that thought in itself and being aware of it is surreal, because it's
Yeah.
who else is sitting who like us now having these thoughts? Everyone else is worrying about getting up tomorrow for work or
Yeah.
putting laundry away. And this to me is like an intellectual conversation and discussion that's outside of the norm, which is to
This
me
is a Friday
intriguing.
or Saturday night
Um,
conversation
Right,
happening
yeah.
on a Monday.
Right. And to kind of bounce off what both of you guys had said, like, Mark, I don't think so I don't think us getting wiped out would be the immediate go-to, which would work off of what Randy said. I definitely think we would shoot first, because humans fear what they don't understand, and they see
Probably
aliens. The
already
first
did.
first
100
maybe
times already,
perhaps,
probably.
or maybe like that laser light beam was to be like, hey, you better cut it out because maybe we got into
between
something we weren't supposed to.
Jethro and fucking Iran has people not shot at them yet. Like, there's no way between Jethro here in Bible Belt America and fucking somebody in Iran that's just like absolutely fucking not. Because I've seen those videos, the UFO Iran videos, and they are fucking shooting at them.
Yeah.
They're just shooting at them.
I often look at it
Ask
as
questions
like,
later.
I would think a species that's that advanced, we probably not even taken seriously.
Exactly.
The best way I can compare it to is if we're going to a zoo, right, and we see monkeys behind cages, they're an animal that was pulled out of its habitat, thrown into a secluded, controlled area that they, from what they can tell, resembles something of their home, but it's not jungle. They're not free. They're confined. Like we live in houses on land. We didn't start in houses. We started crawling on the ground and hunting naturally. We evolved and with technology. So if we are looked at kind of like us being in a house is equivalent to being a monkey being inside a zoo, we're like, that monkey's like, what's that monkey gonna do? Throw shit at me? I can just walk away. Monkey can't touch me. But if we ever wanted to hurt that monkey, we have every single availability. We have a rock, we have guns, we could throw other people if we really wanted to, throw shoes. So I think like these advanced species, they could like, yeah, like Randy had said, push a button, laugh at us. Who knows? You know, maybe they can telekinetically control, because that goes into like physics as well. And interesting, well, kind of crazy sci-fi stuff, but a lot of that, a lot of the neuron and
I mean,
stuff
if
like
everything
that's very
is true,
interesting.
definitely. Travis
Yeah.
Walton is the example of that. I mean, we all watched that growing up as kids, probably, or younger at least. And Randy's older than both of us, but we're all pretty young when that movie came out. You know, what you're how old are you? I'm 36, so you're what, 10 years older than me?
Well, me,
5 years older than me.
I'm 43.
Okay, so I was. Yeah, almost. I was game 5 to 10. So yeah. You remember that
I gotta
movie
do
when it came out?
math.
Which one now?
Fire in the Sky.
Oh
Travis
yeah,
Walton.
yeah. That movie freaked me the fuck out when I was a kid.
Right? Yes. That movie was like, and it's not so much that, like, it did scare me some, right? Because I was just like, wait, so this could be real. This is more real than Santa that you guys were telling me about a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Like this could be real. This is scaring my parents a little bit. Like they take it as, I go, so aliens aren't real, right? They go, well,
Yeah. Well,
not really,
I
probably
told
not.
you-
But,
Well, Mark, I've told you about what my father and I saw when we were driving home one
yeah.
night. We were leaving Dover, New Hampshire, driving
Let's
back to their
talk
place.
about it if you don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, we're leaving Dover, New Hampshire. This must have been like, maybe 92, 93. We're driving at night and we see these lights. So my dad pulls over and it's like these 3 lit up discs all flying, all basically over us, silent, couldn't hear a thing. And in between the lit up discs, there were no stars. So this thing was huge and it was just like coasting over us. So this isn't just something that I saw. My father saw it too. We probably stood up there for about 5 minutes and we looked at each other and we're like, we probably shouldn't be standing out here in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
watching this
Let's go.
fly over us. So we got back in the car and boogied. We get back home. He's like, "Hey, you want to let the dog out?" I'm like, "No."
No, I'm not going outside. I want to stay right here. I don't even want the dog to go out. I'm going to stay here.
So I let the dog outside, and this thing is basically off of the distance of it, flying in an opposite direction, like over, almost like it followed us. And I'm like, man, I am not fucking going back out there. Yeah. So then I see fire in the sky, and
Man, dude. So and that's really jarring for me, because I always I wrote off my experience.
No, there's no writing off this because again, it's not. You can't quite.
Yeah,
If it was me, I might have questions. Well, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. But I was with somebody who saw the same
yeah.
thing.
No, I did too. Well, see, that's the thing. I couldn't deny any of the shit that I saw, no matter how much cognitive dissonance was there, and there was. I did my in the, and so I laugh at it now because I look at it as like that was me being a skeptic. Good science, Mark. Like you go the orders of operations on everything except for the things that you can't fucking measure them with.
Yeah,
I was driving home, and I probably talked about this on the air. I don't know. I tend to repeat myself a lot, but if I didn't tell you guys about it, it was just coming home from Somersworth one night, and this was actually in the newspaper shortly after the Exeter craft there in like
oh, yeah, yeah.
2003, 2002, 2004, whenever that was that happened. Yeah, it was before 2004 because my mom passed away in 2004. My mom was still alive. And the night that this happened was the night Peter Jennings died. I remember.
Oh shit.
I was driving home from my friend um, Dexter and Casey's house. And they lived together, Somersworth. And I'm driving home, and I, at the time, had weed on me and stuff, so I was like worried. This was back in 2002, 2001, 2003, I don't know. And it was definitely no wait, geez, 2004. My mom passed away in 2000. I can't believe I had that wrong. 2006. I feel terrible. It was off by 2 years. The Yeah, it was 2004 when this happened, because that was when Peter Jennings died. So I'm rambling, but I uh I remember it like it was yesterday. I was driving um home in Somersworth and just cruising along, going like 7 miles, no, like, yeah, like 7 miles over the speed limit exactly. I always did like 6 to 7 exactly, always, because it was paranoid, always. I felt like you go too under that, you're gonna get pulled over. Go too much over that, you're gonna get pulled over. And sure enough, I saw fucking blue lights. What the fuck, man? So I'm like, there's nobody here. He's pulling me over, obviously. And I pull over, and he goes right by me. And I'm like, oh, before that, I had seen a plane. I saw like it was P's, I could
Mhm.
swore it was P's, Air Force Base, Pan Am flights and stuff in and out of there back then. I thought I saw a plane. I wasn't paying attention, wasn't thinking. I just thought it was a plane. I didn't put in my head that there was no sound. It's just a light, and so used to P's that, I don't know. I've lived in the area my whole life. You see large lights like that, I just think it's a low flying plane going into P's.
Oh yeah.
I guess that's just what I thought. And so I saw that first, and didn't I thought it could have been a plane too. I still, to this day, I have to accept that as a possibility. I am going after I see that. I don't put two and two together or anything like that, because there's no correlation. There is blue lights, and I pull over. Cop goes by me. I'm like, cool, must have been a call. So I'm gonna get back on the road. I'm driving, and then up ahead I see the blue lights. So maybe it was an accident. There's a bunch of cars. They're all going slower. And it's like there's four of them in both lanes. There's no way to go around them or whatever. And they're all granny pedaling it. And I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And I am now pretty close to them, trying not to rear end them. So I'm gonna get pulled over by the cop, which is obviously going slow too, for some fucking reason. And then I could just kind of see through the angle. It looked like somebody was kind of like looking up, and I start looking up, and then I see fucking lights, a whole string of lights. Everybody's looking at them, four fucking cars, and they're just
Oh shit.
gone. And I'm just like, wow, like, what the fuck?
Gotta
Uh,
believe.
why, I can't believe what just happened. And everybody's still going slow for like fucking 5-10 minutes, and everybody starts to break up, and we go on our way. but all of us were on the same spot. It was in the newspaper in Foster Daily Democrat after. And I'm now, because I can lock it to Peter Jennings, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna try to find this fucking thing. Where they're like, basically, you know, the cop had seen it, other passengers had seen it, and everybody had like reported it. And it wasn't the only one. There's a bunch of other reportings, and then they had that reporting in Exeter like a week before that or something.
No kidding.
Days before that. I don't remember. It's a
Huh.
very long time ago for me. So, but I won't ever forget that. I won't ever forget what I saw. I mean, how can you? And still, for years, I wrote it off as like, you know, could have been swamp gas. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You know, lights. I don't know what it was, but that doesn't mean it's aliens. I was fucking Tyson's perspective always. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. I believe in UFOs, but doesn't mean that necessarily they're aliens. Could be
Yeah.
something, we don't know what it is. But now it's like it's a whole other dimension to that, you know, especially when
Now,
I
you
found
know,
out the government's involvement in
oh yeah. So you know what happened to me
branch.
maybe 3 years ago? That was really weird. So I'm here in Rochester. I'm on 125, driving my car. My car is a 2012. At the time, it probably had like 45,000 miles on it, so it's not an old car. This, I feel like it was a plane, I guess, you know, flew over. Well, my car died just like that. My car died. So I had to push the ignition thing again. I pushed the ignition, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? My car, it's a manual, but I wasn't in on the clutch or anything. It just
Yeah.
stopped. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, what the fuck just flew overhead? And there was a car a distance ahead of me and a car a little bit behind me. So I don't know if anybody else really noticed, but I'm like, fuck. And my first thought was, Jesus. I looked at the clock. I'm like, okay, I don't think I lost any time here. Like, this is fucked up. But
How many situations like this across the United States have people just disregarded and written off? And
right?
now people are going to have to start taking a long, hard look at themselves, so to
Like
speak.
a serious look and say, maybe, hey, maybe it really was something. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I urge you guys, you know, I'm going to do this right now. I don't give a shit whether we're on the podcast or not. I'm going to send you guys a link right now. I want you guys to watch this quick thing real quick. And just, and I'll even match it up on there fucking later for the folks here. This is so important. Um, I have to, you guys have to see the response there, or you know, I can even just pull it up here and then eventually I'll edit it in somehow.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm devoted to this. Is important.
Doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your religion is, what culture, or your color.
Okay, so this is Luis Elizondo, right? I'm gonna put this up to the microphone here, and it's the description, folks, is Luis Elizondo on UFOs, Skinwalker, remote viewing, in the Invisible College. The whole fucking gamut. This guy digs deep, and I tell you, folks, this Luis Elizondo, if you haven't heard and you don't know what's going on, he's not. He's the real deal. He was funding an admitted by the government program for the Pentagon, ATIP, where he was investigating extraterrestrial phenomena, well, not extraterrestrial phenomena, unidentified aerial phenomena. Uh, I'm jumping right to extraterrestrials. I've gone right on the bandwagon, folks.
Well,
I yeah. So anyway, he's explaining this with Kurt. I can't pronounce his last name, but Theories of Everything with Kurt. That's what you need to spell with a C. Check it out. The guy is awesome. He's an awesome interviewer too. I mean, I just kind of, we just talk here for the most part, but he does a pretty good job at, like, I could never do the interview like bullet point questions kind of thing, which you know, to each their own. But this is
nobody
something
wants to know about me, so you're up there.
you know, I'm so bad at, like, which luckily I've had a few people be like, hey, you know, I appreciate that you weren't like drilling me about this book, or, you know, because it's like every one I do is like that, and I'm like, made me feel good about it. Is that, like, at least it's different. It's not, maybe it's not everybody's thing, but it's unconventional enough that
Yeah.
you know, it was comfortable, and it's not too much not too many awkward pauses. Bob Lazar, I mean, he goes into the whole thing, but this is the one thing that I thought was really, it was really something else. This made me almost like, good God, because he goes into Skinwalker Ranch about the things that go bump in the night, and that the government's been putting money into this part of the world, that there are anomalies and possibly, anomalous activity that's being measured right now, actually by actual scientists,
Yeah, that's crazy.
different types of scientists. And there's even a History Channel TV show that I guess was doing one too, independently outside of these scientific
Really?
studies. So there's like 5-6 different groups of scientists trying to do studies there. And the stuff that's coming out of there, I don't want it. I don't want any of it. It's not that I don't want to learn about it. I don't want it. I don't want to learn about it. I want to know about it. I want it to exist, period. Because the implications of that shit is just terrifying and scary. And you know what? Maybe I'm just, letting it get to me. But good God, after hearing this, what would the world look like if the public knew what Luis Elizondo knows? And this is his response.
I have no idea what Paris is. Neither does Chris.
Okay.
No clue what Paris is.
I know you got to get going. The Lonesome Space Cowboy. Remember that last question that you couldn't get to, which was, if the general public knew or saw what you saw, what would the next week look like? How would the public react?
See if it'll actually come up on the thing.
I think there would be this big exhale.
Talked right over him.
For about a day. And then this turning inward and trying to reflect on what this means to us and our species and ourselves. I think
somber, like a sigh of relief.
Somber meaning serious, not like Hollywood portrays people partying in the streets and silliness like that. I think you would have some people perhaps turning to religion more so. You might have some people turning away from religion. I think you're going to have, at that point, the philosophical and theological questions will be raised, and people will have some serious soul searching to do, no pun intended. And I don't think that's bad, by the way. I think a lot of folks that have spent their times in this community being charlatans will have been exposed, and they will be probably unemployed and probably have to
Stephen
change
Greer, I think that's shade to him.
The rest of society will look at them in an unfavorable light. I think there are some unsung heroes that will probably come to light, and the world will appreciate their contributions to this topic. I think the scientific and academic communities, no, I can't give those names.
I know what I was going to say is names that have been announced before when you say the unsung heroes, or new names.
Names haven't been announced before.
Okay.
I think the scientific and academic community is going to have to take a real hard look at itself and see why it repeated the same mistakes it did when Galileo first proposed that the Earth was not the center of the solar system. Hubris is a big part of that. And then I think, maybe we start the international conversation, say, okay, we realize that there's some things out there that are probably well beyond our petty discrepancies we have with each other. Maybe we really need to start working together on this. Realize that we are really a global family. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your religion is, or your culture, or your color, or
New World
else.
Order. That's the whole other thing that people are worried about.
We are all
this
brothers and sisters on this tiny little rock called Earth. This pale blue dot that's hurtling through space.
You may unify us.
Well, I would certainly hope so, unless we allow our poor nature to interfere.
Yeah, I think that's a just of it. I don't want to keep going on somebody else's thing. I certainly don't want to.
And that's the, like you mentioned, the New World Order, like that's the other side of the coin to That's what makes this all interesting, is that looking into it. Me, I always have like a universal theory on everything, that there's three sides to a coin. Mark, you might have heard me mention it before.
Mhm.
Yeah, regardless, you have a coin, no matter what, there's still the edge. The probability of it landing is very, 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 very slim. But in the instance of if it were to land on its edge straight up, what would that option look like? And that's how I presented everything. And like the New World Order thing, a lot of that, some of it gets pretty like intense with like banks and yada yada. But
Yeah,
in
I don't know
the
much about it, to be
world of
honest.
it, yeah, it's a lot of it's like false flag shit and like other people pushing political agendas and the whole nonsense. But there's also a belief in regards to like other life species that everyone that there's like a console. Let's just call them a console. There's a console, and they already know. And these people are the big names of that we don't, that hang out in the shadows, that we don't see, like the guys in the X-Files, you know,
Mhm.
the shadowed individuals. And these guys already know it. Not only do they already know it, that this is the theory anyway, that they're working with them, or trying to, in order to maintain a balance, and then we'll eventually reach a point where once these beings can introduce into our society respectfully, they need to kind of mold the
Do it.
world
Well,
to
I
get
mean,
there.
what if they don't? They
So
don't
that's
do
like a
shit.
theory of it, but
What if they
you know what I mean? Like that's the
force
theory, is
us?
they already know, like right?
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah, I mean, and then it goes like, this was something in my mind I was going to bring up earlier in regards to like aggressiveness and us getting eradicated, is the whole belief of there being the goods, that was it like the darks and the lights. I don't remember.
Yeah.
There's like evil versions of them, and there's
Mhm.
evil entities, and they're like demons, and then there's the like the light protectors, and like they're at a war,
Yes.
and we're in the middle, and
Holy
I don't
shit.
know
Yeah. Nope.
too much about it.
Listen, you're exactly going down the rabbit hole where I started to go, nope. All right, I'm fucking done. I've been doing this for 4 hours and I am fucking done. This is where my tinfoil hat comes the fuck off, and I'm going to go, you know, kill my brain with some Destiny for a little bit, play that with my kid, because this is not helping me, other than the fact that I'm just going down a weird tangent about shit that I have no control over.
Oh yeah.
And I'm
Yep.
just hearing myself. But I guess where I was going to go with that was just that the multi-species thing. That right there, that discussion that we just heard. I've always been a person to go off of science. I've always been a person to go off what I can see, and like, all right, well, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I try to do critical thinking as much as I can. Minus the fact that I'm impulsive and ADHD is a bitch, that fucks things up. But math is always a big thing. My brain's constantly fucking going. So I definitely also, however, you just have your gut. When you read somebody and you know that they're full of shit, and you read somebody and you know that they're fucking being legit, they're honest. They've
That
seen
was
something.
that was an honest response that guy
Yes.
gave. You know,
Yeah. And
that wasn't
that's what scares me.
that wasn't bullshit. It wasn't even a rehearsed response if you
Well,
listen
fuck it.
to it.
What?
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
It's
It
just,
wasn't her. It was the farthest thing from Hearst.
yeah.
That was well
I
thought
mean,
out. He fucking sat there and yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Man, yeah,
Again, folks listening out there, just so you know, that is Luis Elizondo, who is answering back to the to a podcaster regarding his experience, the whole podcast as a former A-tip director, is what they call it. T is in Tango, I is in Irene.
I,
Yeah. And P is in, was it Peter? A-tip.
Pentagon.
Yeah, as in
Is
Pentagon.
it, hasn't ATIP been around since like the 80s?
Yeah, they.
Maybe I'm
I'm pretty
confusing it with
sure
something else.
they probably have more than likely been around for a very long time. It sounds like my kid might have gotten
So,
here. But
so to circle back to the sightings thing again,
yeah,
while I'm thinking of it, did you
yep.
guys hear about that? It was a school in Africa. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I
isn't that crazy? People are taking pictures of this thing, and didn't it repeatedly come back too?
yes,
Yeah,
it did, and they like landed. This is another one, folks out there.
essentially,
So
you don't hear about that anywhere,
aside from and Luis Elizondo goes into that actually a little bit in the thing,
does he?
the guy
Nice.
from national security or whatever. But yeah, it was like a school in Africa, I think, and
Yeah,
it landed. uh all of the kids experienced it, and they all had the same exact story, like 20, 30 kids just, and then a couple of teachers too, like they
yeah.
saw something or whatever, and unbelievable the account on that, and that's been well documented by psychologists, and they believe that they believe it. Every one of those kids believe it. Something happened.
And you
uh
don't hear about that anywhere. It's not brought up ever. Probably because they don't want more people to know about it. Honestly, as much as it's
Right.
out, they don't want it to be a huge headline type of thing.
right.
Because again,
Yeah.
panic.
And yeah, panic, exactly. And that's the downside of it is, the easiest way I could make an example of it, only because I have a bunch of friends that are in the UK and they all watch football, or as we call soccer. And lately there's been videos on Twitter on how much they love that sport, and then there's videos of people from England and people fighting those from Italy, like full on fighting in the streets, but people are pushing it as these guys are jumping the Italians after the game, when in reality the interaction of these videos, and this is just an example of which I'll get to the point shortly after, is this interaction was a combination of people trying to steal other people's tickets and other people trying to stop them. So
Oh,
of
wow.
course these videos were put forward and then they were twisted. So that goes to this of being like Randy has said, panic. All it would take is for that video to get out and it just get flipped and then go, oh my God, they're, there's online groups of people who literally create memes and create Twitter bots and that will make fake accounts to shift political opinion and to get the algorithm going.
Yeah.
All it takes is one of them to be like, yeah, look at this is this spaceship came from China. Oh, like, oh, the evidence of a Chinese foreign spaceship lands in Africa. I could already imagine just the firecrackers, like everything would go fucking crazy. And it's just because it would be conveyed incorrectly.
Yes, absolutely. And something that I was going to go back on earlier when we first started talking about the conversation of Luis Elizondo in this entire podcast was, oh God, what was I going to say about his something involving his credibility? Scrambled just because my kid was texting me and whatnot. So I Luis Elizondo. Oh man, where was I? It was something super important that just really jarred me.
Did it involve the comment where you had mentioned where he was kind of like not black bag, but it hurt his credibility in regards to like occupation, like where he was something like that happened to him, like maybe he was fired or let go
I'm
or
not
from
sure
a job.
if there was. I think there was a part for a while he was, pushing for this thing, getting it out there, and trying to get it out, and then eventually it did, and all of the stuff with Commander Fravor on Joe Rogan, and then it started. Really, Joe Rogan's a lot of where that platform got pushed through, right? Joe Rogan became a window for that. I think
That's
in a
when I
lot of
started.
ways.
I don't so much listen to his podcast, but I watch the videos of his podcasts on YouTube, and that's kind of where I really started getting turned on to his stuff.
My phone just started going 1 sec. That was weird. No, I didn't say anything. It just all of a sudden out of nowhere I said 1 sec.
You see, they're already censoring us.
Weird.
Oh, they're already listening.
Yeah. All the time. All of our devices.
All of it. If your phone has a microphone,
It's on.
it records everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this is it. We're all going to be suicided.
Yeah, that's it, right? No, I mean, the funny thing is, there's so many other people that have so many more important things going on out there than anything that we're saying.
Yeah.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
definitely. That's why
It's wild.
I'm not even afraid of it.
Well, it's interesting though, because you have a lot of these people out there, and they're all like, they're spreading stuff around. This is what I was saying. This is where I remembered it. That podcast, I posted it on Twitter and linked all.
Yes. Yeah.
I linked. Who was it?
You
Neil
tagged 4
deGrasse.
people.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Luis Elizondo, Jeremy Corbell, Bill Nye the fucking science guy. You guys should all get together and talk for the better of human fucking kind.
Who knows they don't?
No.
You know, that's the thing too. Like we only know what we know. We only know the information we're given.
I know.
All of them
I
could
know
be
one thing. Nobody
working
saw
together.
that fucking tweet. Not one person saw that tweet other than me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's weird. That goes back to like the algorithm
Still,
on how
right
certain
now,
things are
I should look at it right now, but earlier
specifically
today, it's still the same thing.
filtered. It's interesting.
Yeah. And you know, to go back to your whole kind of like shadow organization thing you were talking about, Jeremy,
Cigarette smoking man.
I am totally believe there's definitely something like that out there, man. There's
It's not even. It's a fact. They admitted to all the black programs and stuff in the FOIA, Freedom of Information. Like they're just not even trying anymore. They're just trusting America's stupidity and laziness to do it for them. They don't have to hide things because nobody's gonna look.
In my opinion, there's part of the government that knows exactly what's going on, and they're working with whatever is out there communicating.
Yeah, they didn't want what a lot came out that did come out.
Yeah.
Unless Stephen Greer is right? And you did hear me say that there was some shade there at Stephen Greer. He called him a charlatan. I know that that's directed at Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer believes that Luis Elizondo and Jeremy Corbell and all these guys are working together with the government to create and continue a free disinformation campaign against the American public that's been happening for 70 years since Roswell started. And it's been done through Hollywood and our experiences, basically to make it right there in front of us. So we think, of course, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Because it's right there. It's in the movies. Like, it's not going to be real. Like, multiple galactic federation, that's not going to be real. Aliens, not going to be real. Hostile entities, not going to be real. Parallel dimensions, not going to be real. Stranger Things, it's not going to be real. All of that stuff.
Throw it right out there.
Throw it right out there. I mean, so the idea is almost too, like, it scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I hear these things from him, and I want to believe this guy's legit at the same time. And then he's calling Stephen Greer crazy, and he's saying he's a charlatan, basically.
Well, you know, to look at it from another angle too, look at our technology. Look at the leaps our technology has taken. Like, you know, just in a short amount of time, we went from having a computer that was literally 3 times the size of an entertainment center.
Yes.
To now, I'm talking to you guys on my phone right now.
Right, you're talking to it right now. Your computer is what's doing all this.
Now tell me that
it was in your pocket, by the way.
Our civilization came up with all of that technology on our own, with no help whatsoever,
and out of nowhere too, right?
Out of nowhere, all of a sudden,
transistor tubes to fucking
all of a sudden, back in the 50s, boom, there's a microwave oven. What the fuck? Are you being serious? That's just technology that people thought up back then. For Christ's sake, they were putting cocaine in Coca-Cola back then.
It's funny too that you mentioned that, because that reminds me of a few different thoughts. One being Alex Jones has an answer for that, and he had specifically had referenced that as that technology is technology that is created by, I forget what he calls the others, or the race.
Which is wild, because Tom DeLonge fucking calls them the others, and then oh my god, and it starts pulling me down the fucking Alex Jones fucking thing.
Well, Alex Jones is fucking
I'm saying
wild, but
no, I'm saying I ended up there.
Yeah.
And that I don't value Alex Jones at all as a human being, right?
Right. There's things that he's in the same boat too. Like he I would look back
But
at his reports forever
some weird
ago.
shit.
When he was like just shouting weird shit, then
Yeah.
end up actually coming to
Yeah,
be
when he
like
was on
legit.
Waking Life, he was in the movie Waking Life with a megaphone shouting in a car driving around. In the movie Waking Life, he was one of that that short part, and I really like that movie. I don't really like Alex Jones, but that's how I found out about him. This is way back, and I've known him for a long time, man. This guy is slowly descended into madness, I think. Maybe
Oh yes.
because of all the craziness. Maybe they have fucked with him. Who knows, dude? Like, I don't know.
Like, he did confirm on like Joe Rogan that he was pilot drived onto cement and cracked his head open when he was like 14. So it's like, could have brain damage? Who knows? But just to get to the point of Alex's theory, or at least what he had states, is
Yeah,
that like
sorry.
the toaster oven and that technology is like
Reverse
archaic
engineered.
tools to the others of the other species that were already created, that they tested with, and then they're being slowly sifted to us through the government, and then the government just releases it, and they're like, oh, here you go. And like, it's
That's
interesting to consider, because I don't know, like, you can look up schematics, you can look up all this other shit that they came out, but Randy made a good point. It's like, how do you go from like our the obsolete end of life, Mark, you know this, being in electronics and appliances, that
Mhm.
window of things getting obsolete and cell phones coming out every 6 months, 8 months now, up to make money, but also because technology advances so
It's
quick.
boom, 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 quick.
I
Now it's
remember
happening like
laptops, it would
overnight.
last 4 years. Now they only last
year.
maybe 8 months. Yeah, usually every 8 months you can replace your laptop with something that's
Cell phones,
tremendously
all
better.
that stuff. People are just pumping out cell phones every 6 months to a year now. Like, it's new models and shit. It's fucking. I mean, I'm saying that a little overzealously. Obviously, it's not every 6 months to a year, but like, I saw them my
It's
dad.
about every year. It's
Yeah.
seriously about every year.
Yeah,
when
I
you
guess
find
it is. So yeah, I guess I'm not being. I guess you're right. It is about every year.
Yeah.
There's a new model and new something coming out. It was 5 years before. It was back Samsung Blackjack. Remember, like they
Mhm.
had the commercials way back. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that thing was the bomb. I had the Blackjack too, and I mean, I worked at Radio Shack, and yeah, I've been in consumer electronics for 10 years. Only a little bit of it was consumer electronics. But I had to be the Radio Shack, you get questions, we got answers guy for a little while. And that was 2.5 years of fucking, I wanted to kill myself. I literally drank a lot of alcohol at that point. But this was when I was like 22, 23. So I even asked my doctor, I'm like, is that how I dealt with the pancreatitis? Because I wasn't drinking at all when I had the pancreatitis. I haven't had beer in forever. For personal reasons, obviously. I don't like alcohol anymore. It's not my thing. I never really was super into it long until I started music.
Mm.
Anyway,
You know what's funny?
went on a
I kind of
tangent.
stopped. I kind of stopped drinking when I left the band, when the band split, because I was always like, those are my nights out. So I'd have one or two before we went on. I'd have a
Yeah,
couple more. People would buy me drinks after I got off stage. Now that I don't really do that, I don't drink in the house just for the sake of it.
same. I mean, I have alcohol. I have beer. I have a 4-pack of IPA sitting in my refrigerator, and it's probably going to go bad because I haven't. It's been sitting in there for like, I don't know how long that stuff lasts, because I always drink it quickly when I was. I used to
I've
I
got
drink it within a week at least. Now it's been sitting there for months.
I have a Jeremy. I have a beer in my fridge from the show that we played at Brian's, up near where he lives in New Hampshire. The
Yeah,
show
that
with all
was
the artists, the ritual
yeah,
show.
that wasn't yeah, and it wasn't last year, because last year was COVID. So there's
No,
the year before that.
it was the year
Talking
before.
about
I
Brian
have
with
one beer. I bought a six pack
oak
before.
cedar.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, dude. He's
Yeah,
Yeah,
trying to,
Forrest, a non-bassist,
yeah.
we were trying to
and Oak.
I bought a 6-pack of Sam Adams for that show. I drank 5 of them, and there's still the 6th one in the back of my fridge now. Probably it as fuck.
Yeah, that's 2019.
yeah,
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 that's,
right. Isn't that funny? It's funny. I've been Brian and I were trying to do an episode for like, we were trying to make it work schedule wise. He was running into things, and then we both ran into a thing. It was just circumstantial. We're like, all right, we'll do it eventually. And then I forgot to message him back. So thank
His
goodness we
schedule
brought
is
this up.
insane.
Yeah, but I'm still gonna be on because I really want to talk to that guy. He's
Oh yeah,
fascinating.
definitely.
He's
He's an interesting character.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he's a great dude.
I'd love to pick his brain. I love talking to people in general. That's why I love doing this. And really, the biggest thing I run into, what slows me down, is getting the editing and stuff done, because I'm doing it myself, and I'm shitty at editing. Everybody gets to see the crappy intro at the beginning of this, and I can't take credit for the music. I only had a little bit of help with it, engineering it and recording it. Justin did most of the structuring of the stuff. I think I did like one little thing to help, and the drum pattern, but it was electronic, so you know, I wasn't putting a ton of time and effort into it. Anyway, there goes my alarm. Medication alarm, old man, you know. We were talking about the alien technology, reverse technology, how it's constantly building up and whatnot. In that movie Waking Life, to come full circle, sometimes I beat the ADHD. See, we in Waking Life, there's a discussion about the nature of the organism being telescopic. Some consistent listeners are probably rolling their eyes. I've said this a few times, talking about Elon Musk and Neuralink and all that stuff. But what's happened, if you look at the species, is like you've got this like long span of time between when we became a hominid and a upright creature, to social patterns, you know, right down to when you get down to the industrial revolution, you know, age of enlightenment, all that stuff. It gets closer and closer and closer together, where it starts happening exponentially. And you're seeing all of this stuff starting to manifest even closer. When I was at Radio Shack, this is so funny. I said this before, probably too. $126, $146 for 16 gigabytes of micro SD.
Oh yeah.
In 2008. That's not a long time ago.
No.
And there's an even longer time between, you know, like you go back between that and then the PlayStation 16 megabyte hard, you know, look at that. And that was what, 2000? No, Jesus, not wait, in 1996.
Yes, late 90s. They were 4, then 6, and then the 16 were the hard to get because they were so expensive.
Just that jump alone between 1996 or whatever it was to 2008, almost a 20-year span for them to go from 16 megabytes to 16 gigabytes in a smaller, you're right. And now it's 2021, and you can get almost you have 500 megabytes. You can get what, terabyte now in that size, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'll say just for like my own
in a
like in Taxicab, right? And then like Taxicab Dismemberment, I remember, which was then when I had started back in like 2007, I paid like nearly $210 for like a 2 terabyte external hard drive. Now you can get like a 4 terabyte for maybe like $120.
I bought it.
I have a.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, pretty cheap. No, yeah, no, go ahead. It's probably saying the same thing. I got a 2 terabyte, I think, for like $60 6 months ago.
Yeah, I bought one to back up to one of my computer with the photos just before, you know, to avoid the inevitability of losing all my stuff. I bought one. I think I bought it on Amazon. I might have paid $89 for it. 2 terabyte.
Yep.
It's crazy.
That's
insane.
You know,
and again, something back in the 60s that was unheard of. You know, it would have been a machine the size of my whole condo.
Yeah, like supercomputers, man. Holy crap! Like back in the 90s, the supercomputers the size of fridges, and now you can get blade servers, which are I think 12 to 16 individual like virtualized environments that connect to multiple supercomputers that are the size of a fucking freezer box, and it's like. It's fucking insane.
It's a perfect example. We're talking about technology, appliances. You brought that up briefly. the speed in which that's happening is one of those things that hits people where they notice it. And it's funny because they get so like, oh, I gotta buy a washer machine. Like, so the problem is like, in order to get a decent washer machine, you got to go back in time. There is no decent, reliable, super reliable.
Yeah.
They're all made to last 7 to 12 years roughly. Some brands do innovation a little bit better for extra features. Some do it without breaking slightly better, but not really. All of them are made like shit, really, if you look at it.
They're made to make money now.
Yeah, 7 to 12 year life expectancy if you're lucky, and that's because, you know, and yeah, again, if you're lucky. Samsung for a while was making some really good machines, and then they weren't, and then they were, and then they weren't, you know, and all of them, whether they were or they weren't, were only made to last 7 to 12 years. Whirlpool, all these brands, every single one of them, same thing. There's no way out of it, right?
That's how they get you
Except
now.
for Speed Queen. They've got one product that exists out there that's unique out there. And here, another free fucking advertisement for these guys. They make a decent product, 25-year life expectancy, a 5-year warranty built into the product, made like the old one. Efficient? No. Not at all. But they're trying to make your old school machine, and they fucking last. They're gonna do what you need them to do. But there's nothing out there. Everything else has got a TV screen in it. You know, everything else is trying to go the way of the Jetsons, and that's fine. Except for they also want you to pay for it every 7 to 12 years.
Yeah.
And where people complain about it is where they don't even realize they're getting hit by it. They're like, oh, my washing machine, my refrigerator, these should last longer. You didn't say that about your cell phone that you spent $1,200 on
Yeah, every year.
every year.
Yeah, mine's yelling at me every other fucking day. It's like, you're eligible for an upgrade for this amount of money. I was like, I don't need
Yeah.
a new phone. And it literally, like, I can't bypass it. Every other day I wake up, I either turn it on or open the screen, and it's just automatic. And it will tell me. I looked it up. It will tell me continuously forever until I trade it in. I can't stop it. It's programmed. It's hard.
It's
Only way you do is break
it.
my phone in half.
Yeah.
I just finally, I just paid my phone off. It's a Galaxy Note 10. I got it 2 years ago, paid off, and you know what? I'm good with it for a while. I don't want the extra payment, man. You know?
I don't blame you. I changed my cell phone plan because AT&T, I've been with them since 2008 when I was at Radio Shack. Went to
fuck
Verizon
AT&T.
just now, you know. Oh yeah, AT&T sucked. But I was getting hosed and for a long time, and really after all this, like when Caleb passed away, they just screwed up the plan so badly, so awfully when I was trying to take stuff off and I had to give them the death certificate. They were fucking tactless dick faces. Here's a free advertisement. AT&T can suck my balls.
Yeah.
Fuck them, man. They were awful when Caleb passed away. Like I had to get like these certificates and all this stuff, and they're terrible experience dealing with that after, you know, dealing with it for 10 years. So I left. I went over to Verizon. Same song and dance though. You know what I mean? It's all the same shit, you no matter where you go. So there's no escaping it. Difference was I had to get new phones, and yeah, wow, I had a whole lot of extra I didn't need. But I need this for the whole podcast and music. And my phone is a big part of my life, and mainly because I can utilize it as a tool. I try to decrease the amount that I'm online with it. But where this is going and why I've been talking so much is cyborgs. We are right now already basically cyborgs. You had the LVAD. Matt had the LVAD.
Yeah.
Another example of technology where it's interacting with our life. That is more invasive a million times than a phone, right? Because it's going to your heart. It's serious. This, however, is in a different way, but I would say also pretty serious because we're becoming hopelessly addicted and connected to these things where they are just getting more and more and more and more and more part of our life. And I'm not going against it, to be honest with you. I'm trying to figure out a way to healthily acclimate, and I just don't think our brains are ready for it. I think that we are just rushing too fast into technology, and this is where it's going to get weird. And this is where I was going with the technology, and this is going somewhere for everybody that's got stuck along this long for the technology piece of this because I've gone on a little bit of a rant. All that convergence of technology is happening, and it's getting closer and closer together. The phones are coming out faster. SpaceX is flying a team to Mars in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's
We just had a billionaire.
It just
We just had a billionaire up
it's
in
getting
space.
wild. Yeah, we just had a billionaire up in space. Things are happening now, and exactly like that scientist in Waking Life says, where we can see it manifesting in front of ourselves. We're gonna
Yep.
watch the phones change. We're gonna watch aliens. We're gonna watch our entire species go through a major transformative shift, psychologically and sociologically. We are going to change as a species, and the biggest impact of this, where the in my opinion, where the precipice is, where the crescendo is going to be the Neuralink. That's it. We're right there.
Yeah,
We're so close to that.
Oh yeah.
Neuralink and fucking Skynet, I'm calling it. Starlink.
I was just gonna
Starlink.
get to that too. I was just gonna say when you had mentioned it. I remember again Joe Rogan seeing Elon Musk talk about Neuralink and his intention on how to first and foremost focus on like how to backpedal Alzheimer's in the elderly,
Mhm.
and to be an intention, but then he branched it casually over to being able to, or him being curious if
Cure depression.
humans cure depression, but not only that, if
Drugs.
humans mind is capable of coexisting with an artificial intelligence existence, as in each individual one of us could potentially have our own mirror version of our own AI through
Mhm.
technology that's wired in our fucking brains.
Who's to say we don't already?
Well, exactly. He
Yeah,
had mentioned
right.
our phones being an external extension, but he goes, wouldn't it be more convenient? The sales pitch, again, being sales and Mark being sales, wouldn't it be more convenient to not have it in your hands because it's already in your head?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's
But
the iPhone in Futurama when they jam it into his eye. Remember that?
Mhm.
yeah, and the whole point of that too is
Oh,
that
cool.
Elon Musk's approximate window. I think on Joe Rogan's podcast, he had said minimal, because Joe Rogan was trying to push. He's like, give me a number. Like, what's the lowest amount? He was like 15 years, and he's
A
like,
couple of months.
I could probably 10 years. That was like a year ago, maybe 2 years. No, it was right. Yeah, because he was talking about the COVID thing and
Well,
Tesla.
the time he
So
smoked the blunt, he said 10 months. When he
was it
smoked the
10?
blunt.
I think that
Oh
was
yeah.
to get the satellites fixed,
Oh
but he's talking
no,
about the actual
he was
cranial
talking.
implant.
He was going to be. They were going to be. He claimed they were going to be human testing in 10 months.
Yeah,
So which means they were probably already doing it.
Yeah, you know.
right.
Because
Knowing
he's
him,
got
right?
somebody
Oh yeah,
yeah.
all the money he's got, dude, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's fucking
Skate around any kind of regulations or anything.
absolutely.
That stuff's definitely being tested. I mean, like you said, the thing I had in me,
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was ridiculous. I lived with that for about a year and I didn't have a pulse. That little pump,
Right.
little turbocharger, I called it, circulated my blood flow.
Right. That's crazy to think
Right.
that like we're at that point as a species
Yeah.
where we can rely on certain things like that, and how much faster is it going to increase? We've got nanotechnology. We literally just injected ourselves, a lot of us, with RNA, mRNA, and the fucking crazy thing about this is designed by CRISPR, and which is that genetic coding, and the genetic coding has it really spirals into the whole discussion of nanotechnology.
Hmm.
Like Michael Crichton talked about this in the book Prey, is the convergence of biotechnology, nanotechnology, and software technology, artificial intelligence.
I myself
Right.
am biotechnology.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yep.
really am.
Mm-hmm.
New heart, new kidney, titanium hip.
That's exactly right. I mean, that's and you get a phone. Somewhat. I mean,
Yeah.
no phone. I mean, you've got. Are you using a phone or a tablet right now?
I'm on my Samsung phone, but my
Okay.
Samsung tablet is next to me.
Yep. I got like, and how many devices every one of us has too? Think about that. Like,
Yeah.
I've got my laptop right now that I'm looking at, talking to you guys, on top of an old laptop. Okay, a dead laptop from 2008. I have a phone here, and then right next to it, I have the 2 old phones that I need to return back to AT&T, just casually, right? Like, think
Yeah.
about that. Where we are as a site, these are individual computers. Like, I gotta get them back, and so on and so forth. But like, who just like that's
It's
where
throwaway stuff
this is.
now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's just. I think that Luis Elizondo made pretty grounding perspective there about how we're going to have to take a long, hard look at ourselves as a species, and maybe all this is culminating to this thing here.
I think it'll be too little too late by the time we as a whole reach that.
You think so?
That's my person. That's
So,
yeah.
I
I'm willing
think
to
that
bet.
you're right if we were left to our own devices, but I think that's what we're dealing with right now. I think that's what those aliens are. Is they don't want to see us destroy ourselves because they can
Right.
see the
Well,
empathy
that
they
we're
give
aware
us
of.
humanity.
I don't know about that, man. You
You
know,
know, you let us just collapse in ourselves. You think?
it's hard to say.
Yeah. No, I
It, it,
agree. I mean, but
it's hard to say
they've
what motives might
interfered with
be.
our nuclear devices.
Yeah.
They've prevented them from going on in circumstances where they were going to be testing and seeing if it could go on, if they were going to bolster it and scare the other guys, and
Well, now, if you want to go,
that's
if you want
interfering.
to
Like,
kind of, if you want to kind of get into a theory, so they're preventing us from like destroying this planet, but everything is still overheating from global warming and everything. And
right.
say, and you know, my belief is that mankind has been here before, wiped themselves out, and here we are. So maybe we're at the end of our cycle, and something else is coming. Think about it. There's animals now. They've got apes using tools out in the wild.
Hmm.
Uh, Otters use rocks to,
Right.
you know, to break
Oh,
things open and eat.
absolutely. I
So,
mean,
so
the
there's lower
octopus.
life
I
forms
mean,
than
God,
us.
don't even get me started on the octopus.
Yeah,
Jeremy
there's
knows what
lower
I'm
life
talking
forms
about.
than us. Yeah,
Motherfucker
there's
knows what
lower
I'm
life
talking
forms
about.
than us that are using tools.
Fuck it.
Well, that's how we came up, right? We
Octopides,
came up with
AKs.
just snacking rocks together and using tools. So
Yeah.
I
No,
think
no.
the cycle just continues, and we're kind of at the point where we're done within the next, you know, maybe 100 years. We're done, and
I mean, I have a more optimistic outlook. I think that the convergence of technology and AI, if we approach it correctly, and this is a big if, right? A lot of things are variables here. So many crazy variables here. Whether we go, if Elon Musk gets people to Mars, he's trying like
Oh, he
crazy.
will. I fucking guarantee it.
I mean that, well, that's the question though. Does he get enough people? Can he create a multiplanetary species? Can he help us get to that point? But that's his goal. His
Right.
sole reason for having us on multiple planets.
Right.
You can
I think
research the
you'll
human
get
race is
them
6
there. I don't know about that. I don't know about that steps is too premature for me to kind of come up with
Yeah.
a projected idea. I'm like 100% sure he will get people there.
Well, so here's
Definitely.
my thing. I think that there's going to be these major, all of this stuff is happening. Look, I mean, the riots, COVID, fucking the mRNA technology, which I didn't really get to go back to. That there's some things there that's really wild about that. People don't realize they're talking about this new, you know, with the vaccine. I think it's a wonder of modern science, in my opinion. And I think the thing that's amazing is like it can be altered to be whatever they want it to be. It doesn't have, this thing isn't like, oh, they made a new vaccine. They made a new technology
yeah,
that's actually already being used for HIV and stuff too. You
yeah.
know about that? Like they use the same mRNA thing to cure HIV successfully in few patients, where they're trying to create a trial for this stuff.
Well, the crazy thing is that the concept was thought up 30 years ago. It just back then it was just, what if we could do this amazing thing? Right,
Yeah.
we didn't have the medical technology. And so to get the RNA vaccine and how really simple it is for COVID, it's based on something that was developed 30 years ago, but now we have the ability to just do it.
So
Yeah.
you think about that and software technology like Google AI Mind and all that stuff, and Neuralink and the mRNA and all that, those things, nanotechnology, like software technology trying to beat itself and trick itself and to create stories with itself. All that shit, we're opening Pandora's box.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And that would be the other thing. What if it's AI? There's a fourth possibility. AI is interfering with everything and creating some sort of digital simulation like in the Matrix, right? But a little different than what we're thinking about. What if Google became self-aware in 1999? Hear me out. There's this weird stock glitch back at the same time that this happened in 1999 when Google went live. The same exact time Google went live, there was a stock glitch in the entire world in 1996. Not just the United States, I think it was everybody at the time. Or it was the United States and then the other market over. You can look this up, by the way. I'll see if I'll find it and put it. But I don't know if they're exact correlations or whatever. Pretty weird stuff. What if, because if AI existed, it exists beyond time and space, here, now, right when it was created. What if it started learning then and just sat by and listened and watched and waited for us to put as much information as we can? Can cats eat pancakes? Fucking all of it. And we, like just the sheer stupidity of humanity, the fucking, all the fucking gross, awful things that people look up, snuff porn, everything, all the horrible things of humanity, all the great things of humanity, every facet of human life just being fucking fed into Google most of the time. Just we're churning out as much data as we can put into this thought machine.
Yeah.
And that exactly was what it is, what they're using. And it's funny because I was thinking about this for a long time. What if they were doing this? Probably not a good idea. And then they came out with that movie. This guy came out with that movie, Ex Machina, and he basically goes in the fact that the owner is supposed to be like Google or whatever. He was using all that collected data as the test control with his
Yeah.
AI, to make it learn and basically activate artificial intelligence or consciousness. Yeah, I mean, I just think that I hope that you're both wrong and that it's not a negative and that we don't kill ourselves off. Because I mean, what was the point of all the art and everything? What was all of it for? What was the point? We all
Well,
existed, all the suffering,
Learning.
all the fucking kids in third world countries pushed around with fucking M16s, like all that shit. What was the point of all of it if we just fucking all for naught? So, I mean, I hope if there is some sort of aliens that they can see that. They can see that I mean, there is something to humanity here in the awfulness and in the beauty that is the dichotomy of human existence. I mean, there's got to be something there that's being, I don't know. I'm just fucking, I digress.
In the grand scheme of it, though, we're sea monkeys in a jar, man. We're nothing. In the
Yeah.
grand scheme
I
of
mean,
the vastness of space and everything, and I got spiraling about this the other day. What's space? Is space truly infinite? Like,
no, I don't think so.
you think there's an end to outer space somewhere?
It has to be because it started, right?
What would it? What's out there though? What is it? Just
My thought is this: is that
is
my
it just
thought
nothing?
is that like that it's like Pac-Man. All right, you go off the side of the screen one way and you end up on the other
Come back the
side,
other way.
right?
Yeah.
But my thought is that there's a big bang, blew up, everything's going out, and everything's like hot at first, really flying out there and going in all directions, and then eventually it slows down and starts to condense into dark matter, into entropy, and then slowly yes, you do exist, the heat death of the universe. And then when that happens, the last piece of matter, the last little molecule, and this is just my idea, I don't think anybody's ever, this is probably just crazy, the last little bit of whatever that exists finally goes entropy, starts over again, and it just does that over and over.
So there's another explosion out there,
Yeah.
and another.
Well, no, I mean, right. Well, it could be in the same spot at the center of it, if there is a center, that it just blows up, and then when it slowly kind of just condenses and goes the negative, right, to the other side of the screen, then it ends
Yeah.
up in the middle again, starting over. So you know what I mean? Like you're coming from the other side of it and just kind of doing a loop, and that there's going to be that, if it meets itself on the other side, it's going to compress. The same way they're talking about with like entropy in that movie, if you've seen it, that came out, fucking Christopher Nolan, the film. Oh God, what is it?
Oh, shit.
Tenet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that movie's wild.
It is. So the whole thing is that they're going one way, and then they're riding entropy backwards in order to manipulate it to do what they want in time. They've got to figure out how to walk. It's just fucking, that whole movie is fucking mind blowing. If you really
Yeah,
like,
it's super good.
It is. I really appreciate him as a pretentious filmmaker. No, I'm just kidding. I love him. I think he's great. Batman.
He
phenomenal.
I
Everything.
I like him because he introduces actual science to his films as well,
And really
including the ear. Like he worked directly with multiple neurologists to pick up, to most accurately make a human being on an average scale uncomfortable, and how to replicate it.
Mhm.
And not only
read
replicate
that
it, but
too.
institute it into an audio where you can't even hear it, which is why his scenes, I just get goosebumps thinking
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. The Dark
Uh-huh.
Knight,
Yep.
that feeling, you can't hear it, but you know it's like
You
it's
feel
like
it
almost
there.
doom.
Yeah.
And there's the slow pan in, and he
Definitely
does that too.
Holy
He'll
shit,
slow
love
pan
Tenet.
in, and you like get natural claustrophobia.
It's
And then
like,
that
it's like vertigo.
match that sound with your ears, right? And you
It's like a
you start
weird
getting anxious.
claustrophobic vertigo.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
explained it. It's because he has that sound inside his audio, and it's just a
Yeah.
neural, like mess with us in our like on a neural level, just by how we hear things.
I believe it.
Or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
I believe it.
It's a certain frequency that makes us anxious.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the anxiety brown note, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Which to me is fascinating, to put that into your fucking movie. That creates an experience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I make music, is to
Very
create an
psychological.
experience and have people enjoy it. Like,
Right.
that's the only reason why I make music.
But also leaving it to interpretation and stuff is really great, because it adds for that abstract to it, that you can't control that variable. You can't control what somebody's going to think about your stuff. So leave that. Let their mind work it out. You know what I mean? However they hear it, they hear it. You know,
The first thing I thought, I was like, why am I anxious? Like, what's like, this is weird. This isn't normal. And because I don't usually get anxious, but luckily I don't suffer from anxiety, which, for what I'm told, it's nothing to miss on. Like,
Right,
I'm
right.
grateful. At the
We
same
get told
time,
about
I'm
it.
apathetic, because it's like, I can't level with people who I understand it from like a scientific perspective, and I've done enough research, and I've looked into it and how to handle it, how to combat it, how to therapy with people, but I can't feel that I can't express experience. So it's like, oh yeah, I've been there, I know how that is. I can't say that. I was like, I know what's going on. I can't level with you because I've never felt it before. I know that I never felt stage fright. I mean,
it's very hard.
I just don't. I don't get anxious ever.
Yeah, I totally relate to that.
It's weird.
Like I had, for me, for a long time, I couldn't, like, I shouldn't say I couldn't have empathy for, but I couldn't be empathic about it, because you didn't know what it was like to have major anxiety or social anxiety, or because my solution for awkward situations is just barrel through it, not shut up, and you know how it goes, man. I just talk, and it just is what it is. But I never would go over it in my head, or I'd never be so anxious about, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? I just live my life based on the fact that I'm living a life, and fucking dude, the fact that I even exist here is a lottery and a mathematical fucking miracle anyway. So just
See,
at all is one of those things. But I've just my thing is like, yeah, you go through, and anxiety was never a thing for me. But then, and I couldn't understand where somebody was coming from. I couldn't understand where people are coming from until it's like it flipped the switch on me. Now, for the first time in my life, in the last 2 years, I've had anxiety. Like PTSD is never something I ever could have imagined ever in my life.
I do big time after my surgeries. I've got bad PTSD. I've never had stage fright in my life. Getting on stage, dude, if my phone rings, I almost break into a cold sweat.
Yeah.
I get anxieties about the weirdest fucking things.
Yep. No,
Like,
I can relate.
I do grocery shopping early in the morning, so I'm not in a big crowd of people.
Deal with
Again,
much
at a
people.
show, no big deal. If I'm in Market Basket at noon on a Friday,
Uh-huh.
I'll go down 3 aisles and say "fuck this" and leave my cart, or just cash out and leave
Yep.
because I can't take it.
I can't deal with it.
Yeah,
So
weird.
it's funny because there were certain aspects of that I have felt before in the past, and I just didn't recognize them as like, oh, other people deal with this. I just thought it was
Mhm.
something that only I dealt with, right? But I almost like kind of wrote it off as something that I'm just not going to deal with, or I'm going to avoid it, or avoid those situations. But it almost became an unconscious thing. So I think there was an amount of anxiety there that I just like socially, I did the same thing that I would do. I make, poke fun at myself or whatever, make jokes to get out of uncomfortable situations like we were talking about earlier. In those circumstances, I of any type of anxiety, I guess I just didn't write it off. I wrote it off as not being there, and it became like it wasn't there for a long time. And in reality, I guess it was underlying and stuff. And there's just ways I might have coped with it unconsciously, and then all of it came up, or I didn't have it, and then it just came up, and I don't know, like. But now I do deal with anxiety a lot more than I did before. But I could never understand where Kayla was coming from with it when we first got together. She'd get anxious about taking a left turn outside of pulling out of the park because it's so much traffic on Route 4. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
just take the left turn. She's like, and she'd take a right, go all the way up until she could, pull in, turn around, and then take a right there so she could go that left. Which, not understanding then, now it's just me. Gavin is nobody but me. If anything happens to me in that left turn, he's got nobody. Like, and so like that anxiety is a real fear constantly, where it never was before. Even having him, I guess in the back of my head is like, he's gonna be okay, 'cause she's the better of us. Like, she's, like, I don't know, I shouldn't say it, but like I just felt like he was gonna be fine. No matter what happens to me, he's gonna be okay. And having that type of like fear becomes it invokes raw anxiety that I had never had before and never could relate to. But it's almost like the universe has been like, you don't understand it, here you go, here's an opportunity to understand where people are coming from. Now you
Yeah.
can empathize now. And it was the most jarring experience of my life, I think, because I've gone through how I was talking to people, and this is part of the reason why this is so important. I've got to keep myself socially doing this, because if it doesn't, it's like, it gets rusty. It's actually, you got to keep it sharpened. If you don't, your social abilities start to decay and strip off. And
That
I've already
actually
seen that
does
happen.
happen to me. Yeah. Because I'm again, now that I'm not in a band, um, it's me and my dog. I don't really hang out with people. Sometimes, I will, but I ran into somebody. What was it? Oh, I went to a friend's 4th of July party not too long ago, and I got home and my throat was sore because I hadn't talked that long to people in such a long time that I wasn't used to it physically. Like my throat just took a beating and I had a sore throat the whole next day. And it's
I,
not like I just talked and talked nonstop the whole time I was there, but it was like,
enough that
wow.
you're social that it was noticeable. You can, when you talk enough, your voice gets that kind of raspy. I talk a lot, so naturally my voice has almost always got that raspy tone to it because I don't shut up. But I actually was doing some research on this, like singers, vocalists, people who talk a lot. I mean, cigarettes can have a thing to do with, but a lot of times that raspier, the more you talk, the worse that gets over time, believe it or not. And if you don't do those little vocal heals, then you can permanently damage your vocal cords by talking. Just by talking. I had no idea that was a thing. Speech, people who do speeches and talk and like public speakers and all this, it's a real thing. I had no idea that you could like seriously injure your vocals talking. I just thought, I was like, oh, you know, we put our vocals to extremes, you know what I mean? Like, so we could see like that end of it. Like I could see where somebody could damage their vocals that way. Chino Marino, example given. But I never really thought, talking or, you know, or the Miley Cyruses of the world would have a brutally raspy voice. She does. It's really like I mean, I think I went on a tangent there for a little bit, but I do think, I guess what I'm getting at is that like anxiety is real for people that are going through it, and the hard thing I think for some people is ever being able to understand where they're coming from, and that dichotomy of not understanding. And then sometimes it's just like the person cares and they're trying to understand, they don't understand, but they're doing everything they can to understand. But then you have the other end of it where it's like they don't understand, but they also don't think it's a thing, right? I think it's fake. It's not real. You could just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and
take it like a man, you'll be fine.
Just like alcoholism, just like addiction, just like everything else. You just pull yourself together. You know, in a time where we've been more connected to electronics and what everybody else thinks about us than ever, you know, who would have thought, you know, people are struggling out there, but the whole just that I think it's disingenuous. I don't think people don't really care. I think it's their weird way of coping with things because I don't know how to deal with social things. So I say the wrong thing, or I get mean, or well, you should deal with it because I've had a shitty life and I've had to deal with it. Instead of being like, we all have different things and our experiences are different, but let's try to be compassionate towards everybody else and just stay on our own fucking lanes and just not try to control shit we can't.
Yeah, definitely.
But you know, I appreciate you guys really hashing this stuff out. It could never be enough time, right, to really get into it. But when you're going up on 2 hours, no. But I mean, this has been really great back and forth, and I think that this type of stuff really needs to happen. These type of dialogues, especially when it comes to the phenomena that's happening right now, and whether you're talking about extraterrestrial life, the potential of UAPs, even if you're just thinking that they might be Chinese adversary and it scares the shit out of you. It's a time to be alive. Like shit is noticeably different than it's ever been before. You can ask people who've been alive for 80 years and they're like, this is nothing like anything I've ever experienced. People in Vietnam thought the world was going to end, but people right now think shit is really weirdly close to and this is, you know, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, according to the old song, you know.
Which is fucking wild.
Yeah, right. Like
that's a wild time period.
This is where
our prediction
things are supposed to be fundamentally changing for the human psyche. And it's not the end of the world like the Mayans predicted. Maybe it was the end of the world as we knew it.
It could have been.
You know, maybe that's what they saw coming, and they were just off by a couple of
shift of era.
The Gregorian calendar.
2027 is the. I think they. What was it last year? I think it was last year. 7 years. The global clock for shit to get real fucking bad. That's for global warming and like that we're gonna make the official like we're gonna make I thought it was 7.
Oh, until the drop off happened, they moved it up. Wouldn't be surprised.
Until the official, when we go past the line of no return, they gave like a scientist gave an official like 7-year buffer of like we have 7 years to do this, otherwise we're fucked.
I thought it was
There's no
12.
going
I was
back.
hoping it was 12, but Andrew Yang was like, no, that's wrong. They're wrong. It's already too late. We are already on that curve.
That's the thing
Now,
too.
go to higher
dude.
land. That's what we need to be doing, is preparing to get Miami people out of there.
It seems like every
Thinking
couple days,
houses.
it seems like every couple days I'm reading an article about, oh, they found a perfectly preserved woolly mammoth here. And, we're finding stuff that's thawing out in the ice that we were probably never meant to see, but it's so much warmer now.
Right. And
So what kind of diseases are going to come out of that, thaw, What kind of shit, what kind of
I
micro
hope, but
Mm-hmm.
are coming out of that?
what kind of
I just hope it's
Yes.
Cthulhu. Part of me.
Imagine.
Just come up as white paper, fucking take away. Just that's a dark side of me. Naturally, it's like I have a distaste for the human existence, majority of, and I'm just like, just fucking, just wipe. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would like to say it's warranted, but mine's also biased. My take on that. But again, ADHD brain.
Yeah, mine just did the same thing. I was thinking about
But-
that.
So, Mark, the last time I was on your podcast, it wasn't with Rico, it was one before everybody got together for Unrest and Transit. We were talking about when there was fucking fires in the glaciers. There was plant life that was catching
Yes.
fire,
Yeah.
like in the
Peat
fucking
moss.
North Pole, or
Yeah.
shit like that,
And
because
so,
of it's heating up.
yeah, that's a huge thing.
That was like 3 years ago.
If we continue to have that peat moss or whatever, which is like, your what's it called, fucking permafrost, that stuff's breaking down, and then it catches fire and shit. It's really freaking crazy, because that gas, that peat moss fire starts burning, and then it catches because of the methane, which catches more and causes more. It's just exponentially worse. Methane's bad as it is, but flaming methane, you're just talking about this catalytic rate where things are just getting worse and worse. Well, the same thing's going to happen as the ice melts. Like, what are we going to release? What kind of aliens are going to release into the world? I was just kidding.
This coronavirus is nothing compared to what's probably down in that ice.
That's what I'm saying.
And something down there could be benign, and it could mix with whatever's up here and be 10 times worse. You never know.
You just don't even know. And
Yeah.
that's the things that, like, nobody's really looking at. They're always worried about this, that, and the other, but they're not thinking about the near Earth objects that could wipe us out in a second.
That's the first place my mind goes when I hear that. All these. Just today I saw the woolly mammoth thing. It was literally still covered in hair and everything, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, what kind of diseases are on that thing?
Yeah. Oh, gross looking.
Sure, let's thaw it out and cut it open. You ever see the thing?
Right. That's exactly right. That's not how they do. They make particle accelerators and smash particles, and it might be a black hole, but probably not.
Wouldn't that be some shit though, if they really did find a ship under the ice or something?
Yeah. Oh, that would be wild.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
It's got to be, some
Yeah,
Volk
Antarctica.
era fucking. That goes into my other brain of the Middle Earth theory. Of like,
oh God, yeah.
we may very well discover a tunnel that has just been
Hollow Earth.
closed.
Yeah.
Hollow Earth. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Hollow Earth theory of.
Well,
We may uncover something.
I used to have a major issue with that theory, and now fucking all bets are off as far as I'm concerned. Everything is fucking on the table now. I'm just like, I don't even know what to say. Chupacabra and fucking. Yes. You know what though? The fucking Russians blasting nuclear warheads under the poles isn't helping anything.
No.
Oh my
Testing their-
God, I
testing their
know.
nukes under there. They're testing their tidal wave on us.
Yeah.
I was having
River
this. I
tidal
was having
wave.
this conversation with a
wave.
friend. I was like,
Unbelievable.
if nature hasn't already fucking warned them of, Russia's been hit by like 2 asteroids.
Yeah.
And they've undergone some really traumatic natural disaster shit
Yeah.
just in that area. You would think it would be a hint to stop fucking around. Like that's my buddy
Yeah.
the other day.
No.
You think, hey,
Oh,
yeah,
they're
let's
aloof.
just set nuclear fucking warheads off under. Fuck it, why not?
Like, do you want
We
the
got to make
covert
sure our
headlines
tidal
too?
wave
'Cause
thing
that's
can
how you
work on
get
the United
covert
States.
headlines too. Yeah.
What? Yeah.
They're testing that stuff but that's why I think it's the UFO activity. If it is, they don't like all that. But who knows? According to the I Am a Shed guy, I am a shed. I can't pronounce his name. I am a shed, I think is pronounced, but I'm probably screwing that up too. He seems to think that they're waiting for us to get to this point where there's this kumbaya moment. So I'm hoping that the Israeli space defense guy's right, and that there really is a galactic federation, and then some of them are great and some of them not so great. But we've been feeding them cattle apparently, and that's why
Right.
they cut them all up.
Oh yeah, it goes
Dude,
deep.
I'm serious. I'm lost. I'm at a loss. I feel crazy. I just said that to you, but yeah, dude, I'm digging in, and this is the shit that I'm finding is that they are ones that drank blood and they want cow blood. And
Yeah,
this is
that
following
a lot of
the
it all
Luis
tunnels
Elizondo
to
guy
that
down
too.
the hole.
Yeah.
There's reputable people connected to this guy.
Yeah.
This is the shit
I've
that I don't know.
I watched a video on a guy, and he went on for like an hour about the lizard men. He was shot
Yes.
by one, and yeah,
Yep.
there was another. I think I found it on Amazon or something.
Reptilian shapeshifters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they
Hillary
tunneled down.
Clinton's one.
They tunneled down really far. And,
Hillary Clinton's a reptilian shapeshifter. That's what they said.
Oh, it goes deep. It's like the belief that the Queen of England and like the whole the elites of the world are reptilian shapeshifters, and
stuff,
then
dude.
the combatants are
But
equivalent to the like Atlantis, who are the good guys, who are like Randy had
The
said are the ones that are in the ocean.
No way.
That's
I
like,
haven't even
yeah,
dug that
like
far yet. I know there's like 7 or 8 races of aliens.
well, the transference of distance being able to go at like such a high rate of speed through water into this area, and a lot of those discoveries,
I know,
although done by the Navy, obviously Navy's on the ocean, a lot of those things happen on coastlines, in the ocean commonly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying like this is the end all be all, but in my opinion, you should consider all the dots.
I know that's what I'm saying. My brain is so scrambled because it's like, okay, well, I know it's probably not all the way on this end of the spectrum, but where the fuck's the blurred line now?
yeah.
I don't even know where to
There
find
isn't
the blur.
Yeah, you can go any fucking way you want.
The guy's like, the line's blurred now. Like, the fucking line's blurred. I don't even know where the blurred line is or where to even look for it.
You take all those different theories, and probably a little bit is true from each of them.
Yep.
And
yeah,
it's like science fiction. It's got to be science to be fiction, so part of it is true.
And then fact is stranger than fiction, right?
All based on something.
Yeah, Donald Trump was president for
like
4
like
years. Nobody
folklore.
saw that coming.
Yeah, even folklore is based on people weird shit that people saw they couldn't explain.
Right. We're always going to get hit with stuff that we can't get. But the thing is now is like, I don't want to jump to conclusions. And that's why I'm with Neil Tyson on this, right? I get that. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but holy shit, you guys need to be more like, okay, we really need to find out what this is.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel that urgency from them. I don't think they take it serious. I don't think anyone in the scientific community is taking this serious. And
again, I think behind the scenes,
concern.
I think that behind the scenes it's serious, but I think they just run a damage control because they don't want
or are they still so wrapped up with COVID that they can't pull their head out of their ass for that?
I don't think that's it. Even though that's ramping up again with the variant, I don't think that's it. I think honestly, his response was damage control.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, dude.
You get somebody on TV to say, and then people calm down, kind of like douchebag with
right. You're right. People, that's it. Even though it's like, no, not but they were like, that's Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's one of the smartest. I want to hear what Brian Cox has to fucking say about it. That's what I want to hear.
Oh gosh,
yeah,
that'd be good.
That guy's fascinating.
Mark,
your webcam died.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to be the indicator. Let me change this over real quick so I can, do the whole thing where we say goodnight and farewell.
Do we sing that song?
Yep. Except for it's going to be kumbaya in a different alien language.
Yeah, that's cool because honestly, I'm about to piss myself inside out right now.
Yeah, me too. I actually was thinking the same thing. So, guys,
If you ever need, I
Am
like,
back?
I don't know.
I'm gonna be back here
Could
in a
have said
second.
something.
Hey, there we are. Yeah, no, I was
That's
thinking the same
okay,
thing.
though.
I'm like, I'll wrap it up
You
eventually, but then we got into the heavy.
What it does?
Oh yeah, no, it's like no good. Well, on that note,
You just should have just had a bottle like near you. Nobody would even know.
yeah, those are just guys.
There's not a bottle in this house big enough for that right now.
There it is.
And I'm not talking, no pun intended. I just really got pissed.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we're gonna let you get to it, and we absolutely, dude,
And
guys,
Gert
I
keeps
really
staring at
appreciate
me,
you guys coming on, and as always, you know,
Oh, it's a pleasure,
gotta
man.
do this again.
I'm
And
always glad to come on and shoot the shit with you. You know that.
yeah, no, and
Well,
it's
same.
good because you guys, the amount of perspective that I get from talking to you guys makes me feel less crazy. Makes me feel a lot more like, all right, there's a very blurred fucking line here at this point. We have no idea where it starts. So
I've got friends that are probably sick of me sending them articles and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh shit, look at this. Oh my god, look at this fucking thing. I'm always sending
they
them.
don't want to look at it. You want to fucking hold their eyes and look at it. Look at it. Fucking aliens.
Like that Sandra Bullock
Like-
movie, you know?
It's driving me nuts. It's like, how is nobody else like freaking out about this? Like, I know it seems crazy and sensationalist, thanks to Neil deGrasse Tyson still making us look like it's ufology from fucking 1974, but it's not. And
No.
that's where we're gonna leave things for everybody out in the listening world, in the airwaves. And just like you don't know how these waves got to your ears, most of you, you know, don't try to think about it. Just know that it exists. Quite possibly like aliens, quite possibly like everything else we don't understand in the universe right now. 99% of it. So the fact that 5 senses are going to detect everything seems a little illogical, and that's where I'm going to leave things. Guys, thank you for coming on, and thank you all for listening. As always, we appreciate your time here, and Abstract here. Abstract, Gaia.
Abstract Transmissions.